How do you let your girlfriend know her vaginal area has an odor that might require additional maintenance without embarrassing her? Tell her she has a mustache first. Sit down. No, over there. We need to talk. If it's a new problem, tell her, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I am concerned about you. I heard that if there is a significant change of odor, it could mean that it could be something health-related. Maybe you should check with your gyno. If it's lack of hygiene, then she will more than likely change that after hearing that, but she could have something needing medical attention. Funny story. I actually diagnosed BV with my mouth and nose one time. I'm a nurse. But you definitely don't need a degree to know when something's off. She had this milky white discharge down there and did not smell good. She had good hygiene. But she'd had that issue for so long that she just accepted it as her natural odor. When I talked to her about it, she just insisted that it's just her natural smell. Eventually I had to straight up tell her, listen. I've been around a lot of vaginas both in the medical field and out of. That is not a natural smell. You should see your GYN because I think you have an infection. Finally she relented and lo and behold, she had BV. Once it was treated and Ganesh said it was weird that her smell was gone and that it smelled like nothing now. I just wonder how long she had this for that she assumed it was completely normal. Edit, y'all. I was dating her. She was not a patient. I am not out here eating ussy during my assessments to judge women's vaginal health. Serious answer. Please just tell her. She probably is BV and it can do horrible damage if left untreated. She likely needs to go see a doctor. Bacterial vaginosis has a bad smell and has nothing to do with hygiene. They can prescribe something, or boric acid suppositories, but whatever the word for ones is, can help. Use the word different and come from a place of concern and care. Hey babe, I know this is kind of an embarrassing topic and I'm sorry for that, but I've noticed you smell different than your usual down there and I wanted to make sure you were aware of it. Is there anything I can do to help? Go buy something you need? Take you to an appointment? It's likely something she'll have to deal with herself, but the thought counts. Once people get past the initial embarrassment feeling, they usually just appreciate your honesty. Hey hun, I was just wondering if you've used a different soap for down below? I'm just asking because I've noticed that the smell is different. Not bad or anything, but I'm concerned maybe you could be developing a yeast or bladder infection. Coming from a concerned and caring place will come across kinder and maybe easier to approach or to hear in that way. Also, if it's not hygiene as before mentioned in comments, could very well be a pH balance thing, a diet thing, or even new laundry detergent that the area isn't really reacting to. Hope that helps. Communication is key for any relationship. Approach the topic with kindness and understanding. Get her to line up with her friends next Timothy over and say, step forward if your ussy doesn't stink. Not so fast honey. How do you tell your GF she has a mustache? There is zero chance she doesn't already know. Set aside some time together and take her somewhere she really likes, then gently don't. My son, 14, and daughter, 12, were arguing and my son said, well, you're just upset 'cause you've got a mustache. My daughter replied, you're just upset because it better than yours. Woman facepalming, medium light skin tone. My grandmother was going through a tough time with her dying husband and just started sprouting a long wispy white sprig of chin hair. She was perfectly capable to handle it. She just had it too much in her mind, didn't care, and no one mentioned anything about it to not bother her with triviality. After the funeral, her 3 sisters forced her to the bathroom and shaved it for her. If you don't have the will and force of 3 elderly women, I'd leave it be. She knows and doesn't give a hit. If you tell her, gonna regret it. She knows already. Only tell her if she asks. I was almost 50 and in a class at community college when a fellow student, a young woman of 20-something, took me aside and asked me to inspect her upper lip as she had a date that night and wasn't going for an edgy hairy look. I was thrilled that she found me unthreatening enough to ask. Something so personal. Not so much friend-zoned but family-zoned. It was fine, no evident hairs at all. My son, 35, actually told this to his new bride. Big mistake. Huge. Now she goes for laser hair removal, and he's paying for it. I must ask you a question. Woman with PCOS and thick dark hair here. I know the Reddit way is to just communicate, but in my experience, I would rather people not say anything. She likely knows and is probably self-conscious about it. After being made fun of for it while growing up in places such as school or work, as an adult I spent near $5,000 to get laser hair removal. And thanks to PCOS, my hormones constantly fluctuate, leading to the regrowth of hair. Thankfully, I have the lifetime package, and a spouse. I've been able to joke about being able to grow a better mustache. But many women don't have either luxury, so leave her be. She'll carry your comments with her forever. One of my exes from high school told me that, 2012-ish. I didn't realize that everyone else could see it. Now, I shave it every time I shower and I can see it even when it isn't actually there. Definitely destroyed my self-confidence. My fiancé's age, it isn't easily seen, even if it's grown out, but it's all I see. It's normal for women to have mustaches, seriously, and she undoubtedly knows it's there. Telling her she has a mustache would be like telling her she has leg hair. You simply ask her, "Did you know you're dating a complete dumbass?" And then you move on. What are some of the biggest scams to have happened in history? Ticketmaster. The price of printer ink. American hospital billing. The minute you ask for an itemized receipt and breakdown, they start removing charges left and right and the bill gets reduced by approximately 30%. Edit. Added American. Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. The Church of Scientology. Fake selling of Eiffel Tower. Twice. Gregor McGregor tricked a whole bunch of people into moving to a fake country in Central America. Tulips in the Netherlands in the 16-carat century. There was a point at which one tulip bud cost as much as a good house. Bottled water. Research suggests that for most Americans, the stuff in a bottle is not better for you than the stuff in your tap. In fact, a recent report found that almost half of all bottled water is actually derived from the tap, but may be further processed or tested for safety. 300% profit for a natural resource in plastic bottle. U.S. telecom companies getting like $200 billion to expand infrastructure, which they didn't do, the noosing that money to UCKS over with the FCC's fast lanes. American-style health insurance. Diamonds. For-profit colleges, especially ITT Technical Institute. Tuition for a 2-year, non-transferable degree is nearly $50,000. I taught there for almost 3 years. The horror stories stunned and saddened me. What is your best financial life hack? Just drink water. Uninstall Grubhub and DoorDash from your phone. I don't smoke or drink. Saves me a lot of money. Every time you get a raise, hide it. Increase your 401k contribution, or put it into an IRA, or invest in stock, or just put it aside in savings. In other words, don't get used to a higher level of consumption. This is especially important when you're young. Act like you always broke. Bringing packed lunch, or always have a snack in my bag. Automate your savings to pay yourself first. Make an actual budget and stick to it. Live below your means. Use the library for books, CDs, DVDs, and audiobooks. Inherit a large amount of money. It's the secret they don't want you to know about. Being single with no kids is the easiest way to double your standard of living. Which show has the best pilot episode? I think Futurama's pilot is pretty perfect. Lost. The Walking Dead has one of the best pilots, first seasons of all time. It falls off slowly at season 2, and grows more and more drawn out and repetitive, but man, that show was amazing in the beginning. Arrested Development. Archer. The thought of me dying gave you an erection? Chernobyl. The Good Place immediately comes to mind. The Boys. Charlie has cancer, then they regrouped and shot The Gang Gets Racist as the official pilot, which was also excellent. Invincible. True Detective, in my opinion. I don't watch many series, because if the pilot is not good I usually don't bother watching the rest, but this one got me going from the start. At least for the first season, anyway. Bob's Burgers. My crotch is itchy. Are you telling me that is my daughter or my grill cook? 'Cause it should be neither. The Chappelle Show's first episode had Clayton Bigsby, Black and Blind Klansman. What are the craziest things you have done because you were orny? Stole my mom's car before I had a license, drove 50 miles out in the middle of the night, snuck in this girl's window, consensually, to lose my virginity while her cannabis farming, gun-owning, dad was in the next room. I rinsed and repeated this process about 5 more times. When I was 16, I did the garden work of the local, rumored, slutty MILF for a whole summer, hoping that she would take advantage of me. I turned you pearly every day and didn't go home till late. Well, she did take advantage of me in one way, I guess. She got a pretty nice looking garden for nothing and I got some major blue alls, lol. I jerked off to my crush's house on Google Maps. There was a woman I knew and an old group of friends. We got on each other's nerves from the instant we met. She was pretty but just breathing iced each other off. A mutual friend said we should either beat the snot out of each other or go screw each other silly. I understand what a hate *UCK is now. 10 out of 10 would do again. My family was going on a cross-country road trip from New York to California in 2 cars. I was driving the first car. A girl I was extremely interested in, but wasn't interested in me, lived in Cleveland. She hinted that she might want to hang out the night we were passing through the state of Ohio, so what did I do? I diverted my family's trip 90 miles just to sleep in a Holiday Inn in Cleveland and not see that girl. Was really orny, so I hooked up with a girl I met online. On the way there, she messaged me saying her dog peed on the carpet. Whatever, not a big deal. I show up, there's newspaper all over the floor, in every room. She spends an hour talking to me about exotic dog breeds, it's her hyperfixation, and I would have been more interested if I wasn't so orny and if the smell of dog *ISS wasn't in the air. Eventually we hook up. It was awful. I spend the night because it was so late, and I wake up to the sound of her dog issing on the floor. I excuse myself and just leave. I take off my clothes and throw them in the community dumpster because of how gross I feel. Thankfully I had spare shorts in my trunk. I drive home shirtless and barefoot. I hacked a Warn page just for C1 premium video. Rode a motorcycle through a hurricane-level rainstorm in order to buy condoms. From an evolutionary standpoint, I was risking my survival in order to not procreate. Drove an hour to hook up with an old coworker. That was horrible. Partly orny, partially heartbroken. Just immediately hooked up with a coworker after being brutally broken up with. We did it in my car in the garage at my work. X was fantastic though. Cut a hole in a cantaloupe, microwaved it, softened it up, and ucked the hit out of it. Had X on stage in front of about 2,000 people. Mind you, she was a stripper and I got an STI. This is mid-90s. I am 14 and super orny. We had only 8 channels on TV, so I am flicking through them and looking for someone hot to jerk off to. There wasn't much there, so I jerked off to a lady reading news. She must have been in her 50s. Tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy. I silently came in the backseat of a van while riding on a bumpy road with other passengers in it. I was 22, sat waiting at bar for my mate in Vegas, got approached by a couple probably in their late 40s. They asked me if I wanted to join them in their room. I though it why not, I shagged his missus while he watched. I finished inside her at their request. They let me use their shower. When I came out, he was eating her out. I was still orny at this point, so she let me fill her mouth up. Went to a bartender's house I just met earlier that day, while visiting my hometown. We texted later that and she gave me directions. Got to the house and she was 180 from meeting her earlier. Her house was dark except for candles, which could have been to set a mood but felt strange. Suddenly she was quite unfriendly and short with conversation. My spidey sense was tingling, but I didn't leave because I'm an idiot. We went to her room. Pitch dark. I heard something in the house, asked if we were alone. She said, yes. We started and the entire time I felt like I was going to be stabbed. I eventually said I needed to the bathroom and I ran for the front door and to my car. Never hear from her again. My entire life has been just a string of things I've done because I was orny. Honeymoon public X in Paris with my wife. We were on one of those huge bateau mouches boats on the Seine, in the back with nobody around. She unzipped my pants and after a brief handjob made her way on my lap. From afar it looked like she was just sitting on my lap, but when we weren't passing by anyone she was bouncing up and down. These days, neither one of us would ever dream of doing something this risky, but at the time, it was incredibly hot.